Hey, everybody, welcome back to another installment of Two Legs with another familiar face on my right. This is episode 226. My name is Andy Nichols, and I'm one of the two co-hosts of Two Legs. And joining me today is not Tom Hunyadi, but once again, one of the original co-founders of the show, Mr. David Gargalino. How are you, David?
Hey, Andy, how's it going? Becoming a familiar face lately on this show.
From audio only to face everywhere. You're
CinemaScope, yeah.
CinemaScope, and I like the beard too. I like the Fu Manchu. It's good. It's good, but it's good to have you back on and subbing in there for your cousin while he's making his moves and doing his thing as he talked to us about on the last show. He's in the middle of a move right now, and we wish him a lot of luck, pun intended, on that move and that journey and safe journey for him back to home territory in the same time zone. Hallelujah. Jesus be praised.
You got sick of that 2-hour time zone, depending on what time of the, turn back the clocks.
6 months out of the year, it was 3 hours, and the other 6 months, it was 2. Oh, yeah. My God.
So now it's going to be, same time zone.
We'll all be the same. We'll all be the same, and
we could bug each other at the same time.
Right. But he still doesn't have an iPhone. Damn it.
We'll work on him.
Those damn green texts. Can't get used to that. But we have something special cooked up and a topic that many viewers and listeners have been wanting us to do for a long, long time. And Tom and I have been planning it, and we've done so much other content that we finally, with Tom, moving and stuff, I asked him if we could do this show without him. He gave us his blessing, and I'm happy to report that David and I today will be discussing finally 2008's Electric Arguments album.
15 years ago already.
That's scary.
This coming month.
15, November of 2008 it came out. And we'll get to a lot in a minute, but first a little bit of news and headlines. So we're recording this on the 25th of October. Happy birthday, John Anderson. We'll get to that later, too. 79 today. But we did get some news out of London. By the time you guys are watching this, it'll all be over and done by then. It's old news. But we're on the eve, circa 1995, of some really cool information. Finally, it's coming out. We're not going to make 10 videos about an announcement video because we actually have confirmation of an announcement tomorrow. 9 a.m.
3 days ago.
3 days ago. So it's old news, but we're excited, and whatever it is, we'll be talking about it because we're going to go live too about that. So you can watch that video as well, and David will join us, and maybe Tom will too. Yeah. On the Paul front, the Got Back tour rages on in Down Under. He is playing again on the 27th at Alliance Stadium. In Australia, and then he's got a few more dates on November 1st and November 4th. Also there. So he's got a few more dates in Australia. Joan Borelli was a home run of a guest. She's going to every show, and maybe we'll have her back on at the end of the Australian tour before Paul goes to Brazil, right, David?
Yes.
South America next.
That was a fascinating interview because it's like, wow, she's going to be gone. They're going to be gone till like the middle of November on this tour.
Yeah.
And was she seeing each sound check?
She's seeing everything.
Wow. The whole shabam.
The sound check, the whole nine. Apologize, folks. Here on the East Coast, the allergy season is upon us, and I am just dying today. So if you hear the sniffles, I do apologize. The allergies are just out of control bad because of that, so sorry. I'll do my best editing job to get rid of those.
It's kind of like record hiss, keep it analog.
Yeah, keep it analog. But so and then what else news-wise, really? That's it for Paul. In the Beatles world, we've got two key events coming up, both featuring our friend Dr. Kenneth Womack. One we just found out about today. The other one we've known for a few weeks, and David turned us on to this, and that's on the 17th of November. Just in a couple of weeks, Ken will be at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame giving a presentation on his book and presenting his book, which I think by that point will have been released, Living the Beatles Legend, the story on Mal Evans. Isn't that right, David?
Absolutely. So at this current moment in time, you could still go to rockhall.com and sign up. It's free for members and non-members because this will be taking place at 7 p.m. The museum had been closed by then.
Yep.
So basically, you're just walking to the room for the presentation. And I signed up myself and Tom. I'm going anyways.
So you're going regardless. You're going to make the drive.
I'm going to make the drive. I'll probably drive home that night. I'm not staying the night, but
wow,
it'll be a bit of a drive. But trying to get my buddy Tom, since he couldn't make the 2017 Pepper Symposium in Ann Arbor, to just go on a road trip with me. So
3.5 hours, you said?
Yeah, 3.5. So
that is going to be exciting, and Kid O'Toole will be there, and I know you'll get a chance to reconnect with everybody again.
And Gary Evans.
And Gary Evans, Mal's son, will be there as well.
Yeah.
And it's a free event. I mean, why not? I mean, if I had known about it a little bit sooner, I would have maybe definitely gone. But
yeah,
it's a little too close for me to make that trek. But man, David will go and represent Two Legs and do us proud, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
And obviously the book so we've got the book coming. We've got that book coming out. We've got the Beatle news, which is hours away. So it's a really fruitful time. Thanks to all the Swifties or whatever that caused the delay, which Tom said. I mean, whatever. I mean, I think I know like 2 songs by her. Whatever.
I couldn't even name one. I mean, maybe 1 or 2 sound familiar, but I mean, it's amazing how the music industry is that small now, where that would bump or
because big artists, right? I mean, and then obviously we have the Stones release that came out last week too, and Paul didn't want to jump on that, and we're not going to get too much into Paul's appearance on that album because that's going to be another show that Tom and I do next show, which is going to be basically all of Paul's recent contributions that he's popped on, the Dolly Parton, the Stones song, the Jimmy Buffett song, and we're going to review all of Paul's contributions as well. So we're not going to do too much into that, actually, into the Stones album. But
I mean, think about that. We're in
go ahead.
2023. We're in the 3rd decade of this century, and we're still talking about the Stones and the Beatles, and it's still a
great
time. Yeah, it's still a good time, because those entities are still alive. So
yeah, and did you get a chance to listen to the Stones album?
I have not.
All right, it's good. I enjoy it. Was there 2005 album all originals, or was that mix of covers? That was the last album of all originals. I believe it was called The Bigger Bang.
Okay.
And that was there was an album of covers and originals 7 or 8 years ago in between all that. But A Bigger Bang was their last original studio album. And not, you're like I said, the old adage, you're either a Beatles person or a Stones person. Clearly, we know what most of us are that watch this channel. But I like the Stones for the big hits and the 60s and 70s stuff, but that's about it. But this album is really enjoyable. It's punchy. It's to the point. It's produced well. The songs, for the most part, are not longer than 3 minutes. There's a little bit of a longer one that's got, forget what the hell's her name's on it. Lady Gaga, she's on it, so that's a little bit of a longer track. But I listened to it twice already. I really enjoy Hackney Diamonds. I don't know if maybe I'll get the vinyl, but I'm happy with streaming. If you were inclined, would you buy a physical format of that album or no?
Me, myself, probably not, but I'd stream it just to listen to it.
Yeah.
Is Charlie on some of those tracks?
Charlie is on some of those tracks, yes, before he passed away. Okay. I know that some of our friends in the VC bought it and are enjoying it, the physical copy. Maybe I'd get it on vinyl, but I enjoy it just for what it is. It's just good, straightforward rock, and it sounds good. So I got to give a big shout out to one of our viewers and listeners, Joe Mantaneo, who kind of turned me on to it. He kind of gave me the itch to listen to it. He messaged me and was like, "Hey, the new Stones album dropped. You should go listen to it. It's really good." So thank you, Joe, for giving me the impetus to go check that record out, and I enjoyed it very much. But moving ahead, that's all the news that's fit to print, as it says on Sometime in New York City. We're going to get into electric arguments. So, 2008, finally, the third album in the series, build to the Fireman. Okay, and for those that don't know, and there's a few that watch that don't have any real knowledge or any history into the Mac world that we do, Paul worked with a guy named Youth, whose real name I didn't look up. I'm not sure what his name is.
Martin Glover.
Thank you, Martin Glover.
Of the Killing Joke band.
Thank you. And really kind of just worked on, like, how would you describe it, David? Like house music, electronic? What would you describe this music as?
Well, the first couple albums is kind of house, and it's kind of has a motif. It's kind of like reminds me of like one of the soundtrack albums Paul did, in the '60s, or has that common theme, but it's kind of like a remix between those tracks. Um, yeah, it's kind of electronic, ambient.
It's like if you've attended a Paul McCartney concert, the music that he plays pre-show, not so much now, but like 20 years ago.
2002, during the Cirque du Soleil kind of intro,
right?
The Fireman remix, it was called.
Right. Now you're hearing mashup of Beatles and Paul stuff, which sounds great. But back then, to David's point, you'd hear this stuff kind of building and building, and it was all Fireman mashup stuff. So it was Paul, and Complete is out there, and my partner in crime, I know he has everything under the sun, physical CD. I've never been interested in that stuff, really.
You got to come up with the dollars now for a physical CD or record on this stuff.
Even a CD version, is that right?
Yeah. It's
go ahead. So the first album by the Firemen, and Paul, was not. And again, I don't own it. You'd have to tell me. Paul's not credited on it. It just says the Firemen, and the album was called "The Strawberries, Ocean, Ships, Forest." Right?
Correct.
Right, and that came out in 1993. And
so
it's all
recorded,
this.
Was recorded in October of '92. So, this is before Off the Ground came out.
Well, after. Well, I'm sorry. No, but it is before Off the Ground. You're right. Yeah,
because around the same time period where they're, recording the other album.
Yes, because Off the Ground gets a release in February of '93. So it's all during the same time. A little side project. The album comes out, and again,
November
not owning
93.
it. November of '93. Tom would know, and anybody out there, I mean, does Paul have actually a credit? Is his name in any of the sleeve notes? I don't think it is.
I'd have to look on. I'm out of town. I'd have to look on the CD. It probably doesn't.
His
name didn't come about till the third album.
No. So that album comes out in '93. Then in '98, we get another Fireman album called Rushes, which I know Tom. That's the one that Tom still doesn't have on vinyl, I think, or maybe he got it. I know that. Another YouTuber out there, has, tempts him with it when he shows it on screen sometimes. But I don't think Tom has Rushes yet. And Rushes was the second one. And that came out in '98 after Flaming Pie, by which point it kind of leaked out that this was a Paul McCartney thing, but you had to be diehard to get it.
That was recorded in February '98. So, that was during Linda still battling the end of her, struggles. And it came out in September '98. But yeah, I remember seeing that in the record shop, and I was like, why is that in a Paul McCartney, section? And I didn't understand it. This is before the internet was widespread for me to access. And
you had, you could go onto the AOL chat forums and talk to Beatle geeks that way and find out about it, or message boards and read it that way. Or what was that, Usenet? That was another one too, right?
Yeah.
So,
this album made a later appearance for a project.
So tell us about that.
That was in the Love We Make DVD documentary of the concert for New York City. So the intro, I think just the background soundtrack was some of these songs on this album, which kind of got me back into the album because it kind of fit the mood. Kind of.
You liked it?
I liked it, yeah.
Right.
It's more like, I think, guitar based. There's some electric or acoustic guitar passages. I'm into that stuff these days right now. That's kind of my headset mood, is ambient stuff. So
ambient stuff. That's a good way to describe a lot of this music, is ambient noise.
It's good background kind of chill music, but it's not something that I would like drive with, maybe on a,
you might, but in other words, if you're working at home, you'd put it on in the background, right? Maybe.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and obviously there's little subtle things. I've seen CD copies of these things. Obviously, I think that there are MPL Communications, releases, so you can read between the lines.
Well, yeah. To your point, did the first album have any Paul McCartney stuff on it? It might say MPL on it. I think it definitely does on Rushes.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. Sure. It wasn't released on a major label.
No.
Well, the first one was Parlophone and Capital, but the second one was a subsidiary of EMI called Hydra. So
Hydra. Okay.
it's that sounds like a small brand, offshoot label. So it was, those first films are like really, you got to dig deep with a magnifying glass to understand that this is Paul. And you could actually, if you heard some of the tracks, you'll hear Linda's samples of Linda. So, I mean, you could tell who this is, but
you can. Yeah, I mean, yeah. So it has labeled. It has a Parlophone and Capital label for Strawberries, Ocean Ships, Forest.
Mm-hmm.
It does, and I remember reading these track listings: Arizona Light and Sunrise Mix and Trans-Spiritual Stomp and Translunar Rising, and it's music that you'd put on in the background if you like it.
And a lot of those are kind of the same motif. You'll hear the similar stuff in between some of those tracks. It's just like a different mix, but they just name it something different. So you can almost, it's not the whole CD, but it's like, I just heard that on the last track, a similar passage or kind of theme.
Yeah.
So,
but I mean, you have to be really, really hardcore, Paul, to track all this stuff down. And I like to think that I am, but I just had no interest in that ambient kind of music. I mean,
sure.
Maybe now as a collector, maybe I'd grab a CD copy just to say I'd have it, but I mean, I would never play it.
I mean, Wikipedia is listing Liverpool Sound Collage as part of the chronology of the Fireman, but it was still.
See, I wouldn't say that.
No, I agree that, but he was still working with youth on that.
Yes, and that clearly is Paul. Like, you look at the Liverpool Sound College. Now that I own because I bought that when it came out. Right, this was clearly a McCartney type thing.
So I remember some of that stuff's hard to listen to, but you're like, wait, there's like new Beatles shit. Like
I'm hearing John and Paul talk here, and you're hearing this like a song called "Free Now." I remember being like listening to "Free Now," which was just them. Right.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
To me, this is like, okay, that's the third. It almost like it was a new Beatle track after "Real Love."
Correct.
That was my perception when I was like 16. I was like, holy crap. And then later on with the Sgt. Pepper, you're like, what sessions did those drumming and the bass come from? Or at least the drumming or his vocal passage of "Free Now" lyric. I'm like, oh, that's a Sgt. Pepper outtake.
It is. And you're hearing that and you're like, they took this little stupid, phrase and turned it into like and looped it.
Yeah.
Free now. Yeah.
Which that bass passage is one of the first theme song I created for Two Legs in 2017. I did my own mashup of a couple things, and that bass line is from that. So,
really,
yeah,
So this is so he worked with youth, but this was not billed to the Fireman. I mean, it's it's just Liverpool Sound College, and the
collage.
I'm sorry, collage. Sorry. Well, and the Super Furry Animals, I guess, would be the other billing artist on here too.
Yeah, I remember finding this album. I don't know how it was probably still in the same row that I found the other Rush's stuff. I'm like, huh. And I turn around, like Plastic Beetle, Free Now, Peter Blake. I knew his association. Like, I'll pick this up.
This is definitely Beatle related. I don't know what it is, but that Free Now was such a really cool jam. Thinking like they made another song out of this. To your point.
Yeah, I was like, wow. This is just on the heels of the one album being released. I think the following October. This came out. Well, I know we're not on this album, but this.
No, well, it's all connected.
It's all connected. This came out in August 2000, so it was just a couple months before the one album.
Yeah, one comes out in what, November of 2000.
October or November.
October of 2000, right? And that's, of course, and of course, the Beatles anthology book also came out around that time.
Oh, that was so expensive.
It was.
I think I put a down deposit. I was like 16 then, so it was a $60 hardcover book. I went to Media Play at the time, which is kind of like a Best Buy meets Barnes and Nobles.
Yeah.
And I remember that book and this album that I kind of associate the two around that same time.
Right around the same period, right? So those albums come out, and okay, Paul's done a lot of experimental stuff. The Liverpool Sound Collage, nice to listen to, really cool. You listen to it, you file it away.
Yeah, that I actually go back to the other two Firemen before I come to that one, honestly, because it's a lot of just it's Paul with the recorder walking around Liverpool interviewing people, interspersed with some of the outtakes of think for yourself sessions. And,
yes.
So you got to hear like George talking,
Jinga 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 jinga, things like that, right?
I don't know if that's going to be on the the upcoming Rubber Soul sessions next year, but if they pull any of that out, but
9 tracks of which we know are done.
Yeah, exactly.
As you told us the other day.
Yeah.
So it's segueing into later. So Paul goes to the early 2000s, revamps himself, revamps his band, rebrands himself, does everything. Does Driving Rain, tours, really goes hog wild with the touring again.
And he records Memory Almost Full sessions first with some of the band members, and then meets Nigel, and they abandoned those sessions for Chaos and Creation.
Right.
And then his whole marriage thing, just whatever, and then he went back to the Memory Almost Full stuff to finish. So you got 05, 07.
And don't forget, you got a classical album in there, too, that Etchi Cor Mium. I hope I said that right.
In 2006, that came out.
So yeah.
I don't know how they kind of reconnected 10 years later. They ran into each other and like, hey, let's do something again,
And let's do something different. And I think this is the album that people obviously are going to resonate with the most if you're a traditional McCartney fan. Why? Because it's the first time that an album actually had any semblance of like real, true, traditional pop music compositions on it. On it. There was plenty, and we'll get through all the tracks, and we've had our conversations during the week, comparisons to McCartney II and III, and can you elaborate a little bit on that? That was a great analogy you made.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the information of what he played on each track, and it was literally all McCartney with Youth producing. Maybe Youth kind of gave some ideas to Paul, but you look at all the instruments, Paul's playing it all. So it's really the true McCartney 3 in all but the name. It just
because he's doing everything himself.
The only thing that's not kind of organic like 1 or 3 is Paul's not producing it, it's Youth. So that's the collaborative part that I think still is under the Fireman name. So Paul's playing everything, and it's just like off the wall. And it's like, okay, it's almost like closer to McCartney 2 in terms of like the risk and experiments. But there's no other band member on this. Like you have.
No, he's not. There's no Abe. There's no Rusty. Right.
No, I mean, there's less people on this than McCartney 3. I mean, there's less input. It's just all Paul, really.
Yeah.
With a producer. He had an outside person, which. I don't think they didn't really like to call us the Fireman. This could have been Paul McCartney's Electric Arguments, another project, but I think he wanted to kind of close up that project trilogy with Youth
with something a little more traditional. Because obviously, this is billed as Paul McCartney and Youth, the Fireman. And I think because the music took a much more popular approach, he was like, I can't just call this the Fireman. It's going to be too, I'm too recognizable. People are going to so let me kind of live in both worlds and call it the Fireman, but do Paul McCartney and Youth. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I mean, he's singing on it. It is he has traditional songs on it. I mean, some of those songs grab me more than some songs on Memory Almost Full, but I love Memory Almost Full. But it's a traditional McCartney album. It's just really experimental.
It is, and let's
mixes the ambient stuff with the first two. So
you get some of the ambient stuff, some of the things that link the tracks, like Lifelong Passion. That's something straight that you could hear on Strawberry Ocean Ships Forest or Rushes, things like that, and then linking into traditional stuff. But just looking at the vinyl copy that I have here, do you have it on vinyl at home, David?
I bought that about 5 years ago with an affordable price tag on it. Now I think they're in almost $200 out there, and it comes with a CD anyways within it.
That's right.
If you dig deep enough, it's in there too.
Is it a digipack or just a single CD? I haven't looked. It's been so many years.
It's in like a cardboard, just a case, like a skinny case.
Because there were a couple. Oh, here we go. I think I found it.
Yeah. I did buy the Digipack when it came out. Yeah. It's just
Yeah.
a single sleeve.
Buy
the Yes. Which I bought the same day. If you want to hear some of my history in terms of that, released on the same day as Guns N' Roses' Chinese Democracy, that's been 20 years in the making. And at the time was like, oh man, it finally came out. And then you got a McCartney CD. I was like, for me at that time, the Guns N' Roses release kind of overshadowed this Paul McCartney release. But this McCartney release has aged much better to me. But so I had both. And I was like, which do I listen to first? And I'll tell you, I'll be honest, the whole album of Electric Arguments didn't really grab me at first. I kind of had to sleep with it, so to speak. I had to fall asleep to it.
Really?
Some of it is kind of it didn't put me in the mood, it didn't grab me. So I had to kind of live with it. I kind of, like I said, fall asleep to it. And I was like, then subconsciously as you're going to bed, you're hearing all this stuff. It's kind of the point between you're awake and you're dreaming. And so, but all the singles I love on this album that he released and played live,
Played live, and starting to get into the little meat and potatoes of the tracks. Just in terms of variations, so there was this version here, the standard 2 LP, but then there was another LP version. There was another one too. Do you remember the specifics on that one?
I don't know about the other LP, but I know that a box set came about 6 months later. It was up for pre-order on his website, and it was about $70 back then. And to me, that was a lot of money. It was in a tin case. It was 4 CDs,
yeah.
3 CDs.
So
no, 2 CDs and 2 DVDs.
Right. So this is the vinyl version, which I just showed you, so there was a deluxe edition that you're talking about: 2 LPs, 2 CDs. 2 DVDs and a download in the tin box with the original 13-track album, 7-track CD containing bonus mixes and alternate versions, a DVD of high-definition audio recordings, DVD of multi-track session files, 2 exclusive art prints, and an extensive booklet. So that was all in that super deluxe, as we say these days, edition.
Yeah, it's the only thing I don't have.
No, but I bought this when it came out. I want to say it might have been $40 on Amazon.
Okay.
Some of the initial, some of the early praise that's on this label here, the reviews. BBC Radio said it was just awesome. The Daily Telegraph said a pure listening pleasure with a great sense of spontaneity and musical imagination. Idolator says Paul McCartney lets it rip. Pitchfork said vamping, Zeppelin-esque.
Yeah, it kind of has the Arctic Monkeys, Zeppelin, Jack White kind of tonalities. Yeah. So what version is that vinyl? Is it just the same track listing, just a different cover?
Same track listing, same cover.
Okay.
As the CD, just straight up 2 LPs and the CD. So it's I guess you'd call it the standard vinyl edition,
So what did you just put up previous to that? Or you were looking at
this is the slip cover that goes over it.
Oh, okay. It looked black with the back.
No, it's a little slip cover that goes over it that came with the album.
So that was
when
not
I bought
the
it.
Standard release? Okay, yeah,
it is.
I have that version. Okay.
Yeah, this is the standard.
Okay.
And it came, standard, and this was before, again, early to mid to late 2000s, vinyl was still pretty hard to come by, so it was not that commonplace. But it came with the big book included with it.
Yeah.
Here, and there's Paul
and
Youth, right, working on it. Let's get into the let's get into the track listing, okay? The first one, which Paul's very fond of, phrases that people say and sticking to them to be a track title, and that's exactly what you get with the opener. Nothing too much, just out of sight. Which he heard. I remember he heard that the Jamaican guy Jimmy Scott, who did a version of Obla Di Obla Da, he said that too. He also said this statement too, and Paul remembers it, and then opens up this album with this, kind of raunchy guitar. So
what grabbed me was the harmonica stuff.
Yeah.
Which I hadn't really, incorporated any of his, solo stuff, at least to my knowledge, as heavy as this.
No, no. So these are songs like that. That's a song that I don't play a whole lot. Neither I do with the next one, the Two Magpies, which is kind of just like a little acoustic ditty. Magpies, kind of in the vein of English tea, very British sayings here. But where the album really kind of gets going is obviously with the first single, and that's Sing the Changes. And he played the hell out of that song. He played it on tour. He played it on Letterman. I think you had a chance to see him do it live. I did too. Did you?
Yeah, in 2011 for On the Run tour, he played, I believe, that one. He didn't play Highway. I think he just did Sing the Changes. Or it might have been one or the other. He only just played one song from that album.
Okay. I saw him do Sing the Changes and Highway at Citi Field when he opened up Citi Field. He played both those songs.
Oh, in 2009?
Yes.
Okay.
In the summer of 2009, which was right after this really came out.
Yeah, so he just scaled back and just kept 3 years
out.
Which,
but Sing the Changes it's kind of a weird. It's all over the place, and I think he talks about that a little bit. How he kind of just made up some of the stuff up on the spot, but it works. It's the production on that song, like the lyrics are not like the vocals are not in your face. They kind of sound like distant a little bit. I love that lyric. Every ladder leads to heaven. I love that's a really good lyric. It's catchy. He kept it in the set list for a good while, so that was definitely the top single track from this album for sure.
I mean, reading up the album, he recorded each song in one day, and did it in a course of 13 days over a course of a year. So, like you said, very spontaneous. I don't think he had lyrics, or maybe he had lyric ideas and he kind of went with it.
And just kind of rolled with it and kind of kept it going. Just, okay, this is what I feel like today, which sometimes works out in McCartney's favor. Sometimes it doesn't. But I think for the most part on this album, it works. Take a song like Traveling Light. That's another one of those kind of linking ambient tracks, right?
Yeah.
It's not a song because you've just heard Sing the Changes, right? 3-minute strong pop song. Okay, that's a McCartney song. Then we go into this song called Traveling Light, and you're like, whoa, what the hell is this? I walked, and you're like, what the hell is this song? Right?
Yeah. I mean, he could do that at the time still with kind of like, his voice is still in top form at 66, I thought, in terms of the albums, of how he could go from that screaming stuff to the low tone, and it comes across really well.
It does. You hear a little bit of the falsetto on that track.
Oh yeah.
And to your earlier point, you said at the top of the show, like a song like Traveling Light, I could enjoy that in the background and be okay with it. Like, I'm not going to go seek out Traveling Light and go play it, but in the context of the album, it's pleasant. It's pleasant to listen to.
Oh yeah.
It's relaxing, and you get that with a lot of songs on this record. You just do. And then so we listen to Traveling Light for like 5 minutes, and we're like in a trance, and then we go right into Highway, straight rock.
Oh man, I wish you'd bring that back in the set, because that was just such a driving song. I mean,
Highway.
Yeah, it's still stuck in my head. Granted, I listened to them last night, but it's just like,
Highway. It would not have been out of place on like McCartney III when you hear that kind of song, right?
Not at all. I
mean,
God, it's just, that is a pure McCartney song to me. I mean,
right. Great rocker. And then from there we go into, again, another kind of, not a traditional song. Light from Your Lighthouse. Almost like quasi-rap.
Yeah.
Right? He's kind of rapping through the lyrics. And he's like whispering. You're like, is this Paul McCartney? You're like, it's like high vocal, talking vocal, mixed together.
Yeah.
And then into a chorus. Let it shine from your lighthouse. Yeah.
And the guitar work on that's pretty. I mean, I would almost expect that on like New, or it's interesting where he comes up with some of these far out ideas. I mean, maybe he's just like, hey, it's been 10 years since I've let loose. Let's do it.
Right.
Again.
Well, it's a record that, of all the things that he's come up on the spot with, it's such a strong record, and it's in the bevy of embarrassment of riches that we've been given from Paul McCartney in the last 20 years of studio albums and touring. This album kind of gets a little bit forgotten. Because the proper studio albums have been so off the charts great, right? New, Chaos and Creation, hell, even Egypt Station there. This album kind of gets forgotten a little bit, and I'm curious your opinion and my co-host's opinion, partner. Where would you put Electric Arguments and Egypt Station? How would you rate them? What would you rate better? I'm going to tell you right now. I think I'm putting Electric Arguments ahead of Egypt Station. I think I am.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple songs on Egypt Station that just kind of like, it really, I don't know, it just really got to me in terms of, no, that's not a really good song, but people are just, I don't know, overexposing it just because it's Paul McCartney. But like, I just felt like this is still a pure time for him. This is kind of like a release from a lot of things of his and during his life, that era of his life, and he just went for it. And that spontaneity, with his voice still being strong.
66, we said, right?
Yeah,
at the time.
Yeah, he was 66.
Yeah.
I would personally rank it a little bit higher than Egypt Station. Not necessarily on production or I don't know. It just grabs me a little bit more.
Yes.
It's just a personal preference.
The good on this album is as good as anything he's done in the last 20 years, in my opinion. The really great standout songs.
100%. And I think it kind of gets buried because it doesn't say Paul McCartney. It's kind of like it's under the guise of the Fireman featuring Paul McCartney, which it is Paul McCartney and you.
But out of all the experimental Fireman stuff, this is the one clearly we know. This is the one.
If someone asks you like which one would you recommend, like start from the end. It looks, truly, it's really, there's not many movies where you say the third of a trilogy is better than the first.
It's like saying Return of the Jedi is better than A New Hope.
Yeah. So, but yeah, there was so much McCartney releases in that short period between like 01 and
It was so much that you got lost. I mean, Driving Rain, back in the U.S., back in the world, Chaos, Memory Almost Full, the Good Evening New York City, Ocean's Kingdom, Kisses on the Bottom, New. Like he was so busy during that say from 2001 to 2011. You got a flurry of activity in there, man, and some personal stuff with the divorce. And I want to say that this might have been the first thing really after the divorce that he did.
I believe so.
Right? So, he might have just been in a spirit where it's like, you know what, screw it. Like, I've just gone through some hell. I'm going to rock out. I'm going to make an album with these guys, this guy that I've worked with, and I'm just going to have fun doing it. And I'm not going to go anything planned. I'm just going to do it.
I don't. So when he released Rushes, he did one of the first webcast broadcasts for Rushes.
Right.
He was on his guitar, but he was like disguised, almost like a bag, like John and Yoko or something. The bit rate was so bad you couldn't tell from anyone on that. But
I remember that.
I don't think he did any promotion other than his his painting with youth and just discussing. He didn't do anything like to promote it from a live aspect, but that would have been amazing for him to go out, not necessarily with his regular live band, but with whomever, maybe with youth, and just performed it live. But he's McCartney. It would have been one of those pop-up things like at Amoeba that would happen at.
Right. Hey, here I am. I'm going to play this stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to, we're so fortunate that we have this embarrassment of riches from this man in the latter half of his career. And I know we think 2008, as we had said at the top, it's 15 years ago, but when there's been so much released, and you dive back and you say, holy crap, this thing on its own is just so brilliant. We didn't really maybe appreciate it as much at the time.
Yeah, it's one of those albums that people look back on, kind of like they do with Ram. Like, wait, wow, that is a really good piece of work.
I don't think people said it was crap. I think it was just
under the radar.
Wow, here's so much stuff he's got out right now, and it's kind of flew under the radar. It didn't get the billing that, say, A Memory Almost Full did or a Chaos did. It didn't get that same level of promotion. That might have been on purpose, but it doesn't make it anything less,
No, that he might have been like, he did the Memory Almost Full campaign and the Chaos and Creation tour.
Right, that tour. He did the secret gigs and all that stuff.
And then Separation. And he just probably just like, hey, I want to release the music, but don't have to be. He was probably more Paul McCartney, the musician person, than the persona of Paul McCartney that he has to sell with his albums. So it's probably a relaxing release. He probably did that on purpose.
Yeah, and you hear that
underground.
And you hear that in a song, just like it's continuing through the track list here, which is one of my favorite on the whole album, Sun is Shining. Oh my God. You like that too?
Yeah, I wish I could play the music live, but we're going to get hit with a copyright,
Well, I'm playing it in my ears.
Okay. I was trying on my computer, but yeah.
We might sneak a video in here in the episode just to throw it on. We might get flagged for copyright, not making any money, but we might throw a song or two in.
Yeah.
We'll see. But Sun is Shining is a great track. Reminds me of almost something that could have been on McCartney. Those opening guitar strings, very pastoral sound, bright, boom, optimistic, boom. Every morning I get up. It just puts you in the great mood. Sun is shining. Puts you in the best mood ever. And then the la 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 la's and all that.
If he saved one of these songs and put that on Egypt Station in place of For You.
Oh God. Yeah, now Egypt Station takes the win. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I know you and I are kind of on the same page on that song. I just like
your cousin's not.
I love him. I love McCartney. There might be like 2 or 3 songs by him I just cannot listen to, and the other 1 or 2 are his collaborations with. I don't even want to say his name anymore, but it's just like
that's fine.
But
Sun is Shining.
Songs
It's just a great track on here, and he knocks it out of the park with the next one too. With I think is probably my favorite on the whole record. Dance Till We're High, Wall of Sound, Phil Spector production, bells and everything on this. Is there not?
Yeah, I mean, he did this all ahead at his Hog Hill studio, and I think maybe that's why he had Youth produce it, because it just sounds so good, and it's ear candy when you're listening to the headphones. You're hearing a lot of stuff going on that I don't think you'd necessarily hear if you're driving in the car or whatnot, or it's in the background. And so I love that about McCartney. It's just there's a lot of hidden gems, ear candy that you're hearing on this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, but any of these last couple of songs, Sun is Shining, Dance Till We're High, it's almost like a Christmas song. It could be it's like a Christmas song. It's talking about the snow falling and stuff. Bells will be ringing out.
He has never done a full Christmas album. What's your opinion on that? Would it be too cheesy like Ringo's album, or
it might be too late? It might be too late now.
I think maybe his Kisses on the Bottom might have taken that.
It might have, and I believe this song had an official video release. This song had a video release. It was black and white. Do you remember it?
Yeah, all that stuff. All these videos are really low grade quality.
Very
officially. I'm like, they uploaded like 180p or something. I'm like, remaster this shit. Like, I would
4K
deluxe version. Yeah. Do it.
Yeah, talk about getting a deluxe edition version of Electric Arguments. Forget London Town and Back to the Egg. Let's do this one next.
No. Yeah, I almost pulled the trigger maybe 5 to 6, 7 years ago on the deluxe version. And I was like, even then I was like, it's pricey, but It's
Oh,
not.
you
as
did
much
get that
as-
tin can. You got the tin can version?
I did not. I wanted to. I've been looking.
Ah,
I don't even want to look at the prices. Are just not as ridiculous as the big barn box, but which thankfully I have. Maybe I could sell that, and then I get no.
no, you would not sell
No,
that.
not at all. But
Um,
it's just like it'd be nice to have the other. I downloaded the other mixes from YouTube and had them on a burned CD, but hear the multi tracks and I have the documentary ripped also from YouTube. But just to have it as a complete package, as a commercial product that's not
well,
limited,
that's your
yeah,
thing. You love getting all that. You love getting all
Oh,
the warts and all stuff. The documentary, the
yeah,
making of. You're like the king of
yeah.
that.
I love the whole process.
Yeah. Moving it now through Dance Till We're High, we go into another one of those ambient tracks with Lifelong Passion, which can kind of put you in a trance. You've just heard two rocking songs, pop songs, and now you're like, okay, we're going back into the TM mode here. To the misty mountains, and you can picture the misty mountains, like the Himalayas, like walking. Boom.
He's kind of
boom.
playing John Anderson on that song. I don't know, kind of like the I don't know the spiritualness.
He is.
Yeah.
You know, so that goes me up. I don't want to say I don't want to use the word meanders, but it goes on for about 4.5 minutes. But again, in the context of the album, it's an enjoyable listen because you're not going to seek this out. I mean, maybe hey, that might be your cup of tea. You might want to just listen to this song, but in the context of what Paul was doing with the Fireman on the earlier albums, and now with traditional pop music, it works with a song like this. In other words, if you didn't have pop stuff on this, maybe I wouldn't be as inclined to listen to it. But because it does, I'm like, ooh, I'll give this another chance now.
So I think the first couple, at least the first album, I think was more youth produced or made, and Paul McCartney put his flourishes on it. This one, I think it's almost the opposite. It's the inverse of it. It's McCartney, and I think youth has adding some of his influences on this. You know,
Yeah.
whether Paul might be taking those ideas and playing it, but I think it's the opposite sides of the spectrum for this project, and you're seeing more Paul McCartney obviously in this one.
Yeah. More of the same with the next track, Is This Love? Very kind of Eastern instruments going on in this. Is this that track that goes, oh, like water? Is it that one? Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So,
I mean, that kind of that's a deep track that gets me. Just I love his trance of his vocals. He loves playing with some of the echoes and reverb and delays, and just his voice is soothing on this album.
yeah, it sounds a lot of the tracks that are not traditional. It's like his voice, his vocals are like buried deep, right? You hear them; they're drenched in a little reverb and echo. You know, we're hearing them kind of from far away, and we're hearing all this other layers of instrumentation, whether it's drums or rhythms going, kind of continuing that kind of hypnotic trance thing that goes on with a lot of this music, and it works.
Yeah.
The last couple, Lovers in a Dream, I do think the album meanders a little bit towards the end. I'm going to be honest with you. The last couple of tracks, I'm not the biggest fan of. Could you speak to those?
Lovers in a Dream it's still in my head from last night. It's just kind of
again the pulsating beat.
The pulse, yeah, and that's where it's more of a throwback to the first couple albums, but
right. Universal Here, Everlasting Now.
I mean, this
initial impressions on that.
I forgot what it sounded like already, but
birds chirping and stuff, and then more. Yeah. It kind of goes into the more of the, the night of the, as I call it, the night of the Roxbury stuff.
Yeah. So maybe at the end of the album, things are kind of feeling more the same, or things are kind of blending together.
They are, and then it closes with like a 10.5-minute epic. Don't Stop Running.
Yeah, with a hidden track called Road.
Yes. Right. And this is it's kind of more along the lines of like a long form jam, almost like a Rinse the Raindrops kind of thing, kind of vibe a little bit.
Oh yeah.
You know, you know, again, if I'm not listening to the whole album, I'm not
You're
going
not
to
gonna
probably
seek
put.
that.
I'm not going to seek this track out. So again, when Paul's at his melodic best, songwriting pop, you know, that's where the album shines, in my opinion. But I appreciate the tracks that are a little bit more risky, you know,
Sure.
because he bundled them with traditional stuff. Like a whole, I don't think a whole album of this stuff is just not my cup of tea, which is why I don't like Rushes or Strawberry. But you know what? Maybe I'll give him a shot. I'm not buying them physically. I'll tell you that.
No,
At
I
those
would, you know,
prices.
not at all. Not if you're kind of wishy washy, but yeah, I mean, stream them, download them, and go kind of just absorb them. You know, I mean, I think they're still great tracks, but yeah, they're just not. They're kind of avant garde of McCartney. You know, it's kind of like, I don't know. This would be close to what like Johnny Yoko might be into, or you know, if they were still together in this day and age. But
Yeah. I mean, I'll do a little quick show and tell of the vinyl for anybody who doesn't have one at home. Um, there's this gatefold opens up like that. There's your Fireman truck. And the LPs, I think, are just standard white label. Let's take a look here. On the inner sleeve, Fireman. And there's the vinyl LP. Right there. A picture, the label on one side and a picture on the other. There you are. Pretty standard.
so you bought that when it came out?
I did.
Just okay, both the
Just
CD digipack,
CD,
and the vinyl.
CD digipack, and the vinyl. Instant purchase. Once I realized that it wasn't. Once I realized it wasn't another truly electronic album. I'm like, oh, there's real songs on this. I'm gonna get it.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then you got the red there for the second disc as well, and yeah, yeah. It's just different kind of Paul mixed in with some traditional nice pop stuff, but some of the best stuff that he's, as we've said, since that he's done. The poster
yeah.
we saw, the CD digipack. God, I hate it when they started bundling these things. But I tell you what, 15 years old, she's held up pretty good, the old gal.
Oh yeah, it looks nice.
Digipacks, you know, and then you got the book in here that it's got Paul basically with the painting and stuff. That was all going on during this time. And Paul's still painting. Actually, just the other day in Australia, he did a little paint thing. Did you see that on social media?
Yeah.
Ever the creator, ever the artist, right? There's a good photo of him there. Yeah, just a good different. Yeah. So recorded and mixed by Clive Goddard at Hog Hill. Programming by Tim Brand. Mastered by Steve Rook at Abbey Road. Sound assistants, of course, Keith Smith. Of course, John Hamill, Eddie Klein. 2008. The firemanmusic.com. I don't know if that website's probably still in existence. Probably not.
I remember when that came out. He played the shit out of his Epiphone Casino on this album. You see him in the studio just riffing away.
For sure.
But yeah, he's got all those. He's got the mini Moog from the Wings era. A lot of all right. I hear a lot of Mellotron on this album. I love the Mellotron. So you're like, yeah, he's playing the old ones from the '60s from EMI. I think he's got two in his studio, and he's probably figuring, when is he going to branch out his wings like that? And I would love for him to make another album like this, not necessarily the Fireman.
Just make one. Yeah, be very curious if Paul decides to revisit his collaboration with Youth, or do something to your point.
Yeah, 93 to 98 is 5 years, and you go 98 to 2008, that's 10. So,
and we're 15 years on. Maybe maybe do it. I mean, hell, who would not sign up for a super deluxe edition of the Fireman, of the Electric Arguments album, with all this extra content we've talked about, the live stuff? I mean, hell. It's amazing when you think about what could be in the archives, or demo versions of these songs.
So, Electric Arguments is a poem from Allen Ginsberg called "Kansas City to St. Louis."
Okay.
For anyone that wants to care about the title history.
Yeah, what is that? Electric Arguments. What does that mean, right?
Yeah.
Ginsberg. And that would have been their small. Obviously they worked together on Tom's favorite song, Battle of the Skeletons.
Yeah.
I don't know why he likes that song so much. To each his own.
But
to each his own.
There's a lot of remixes, which probably go into the deep, even down the deeper rabbit hole of the, the deep stuff. So, but
yeah.
I'd love to understand the multi-track session files, like on the DVD. Like, can I just remix it on my own? Can I pull stuff out and adjust the faders? So I don't know what the marketing was, because this got released on this really small label called One Little Indian.
One Little Indian. That's right. I remember seeing that. Yeah.
So, it's just an interesting package that came out, and there was such a delay on the deluxe. It came out maybe 6 months after that.
Yeah, it was much later. But yeah, Paul McCartney and Youth. So it's clearly, like the cover says Paul McCartney Youth, right? But the spine says the Fireman. You see? So it's like he wants to just bill it as the Fireman, right? But I'm just gonna, embrace it, and I think you had to, given the music on the album, and it's clearly. I think I listened to some tracks on this, or I go to them more than I have on, as you said earlier, Memory Almost Full. It's easily, definitely for sure.
So I'm a fan of Youth or Martin, because he has another project with David Gilmour called The Orb. So Gilmour, they just re-released a remix album, I think 13 years after the first one. So I'm just like, all these influence kind of daisy chain and spiral off of different, collaborations, and you kind of try to listen to those, and it's just a really, it's like full circle, because I'm going off on a tangent, but like, Paul's worked with a lot of producers like Trevor Horn. I'm just like, I saw Trevor Horn for the first time ever this year because he opened up for Seal. And basically, I don't think he's ever played in Detroit some of those songs, So it's like, wow, he's worked with McCartney and Seal and Yes.
He didn't play anything. He didn't play anything. Yeah, he didn't play anything from Drama. Damn it.
No, he played Owner of a Lonely Heart, but
which he produced. But damn, he could have played something from Drama.
It was like really surreal. But yeah, I'm going off on a tangent. But like, Paul's worked with the industry's finest, and it's really interesting going and listening to their works.
Well, what I think the album works is, and it speaks to Paul ever since his days in the Beatles, right? He's always been willing to push the boundaries and not be locked in this box of, I'm just a pop musician, okay? I want to explore other sounds and be creative, whether that's, again, the avant-garde stuff, then the things that he did in 66. I think this is just a continuation of that. And people that want to put him in that box. Now, I've just said all episode of how I like the pop stuff. I do, but I really love that he does push the boundaries with his experimental music. And to your point, with the producers that push him in that direction. He doesn't want to be put in a box and just labeled as one thing. And I think he goes to great extents to do that, to do experimental music like this album. For sure. And you get a little bit of a hybrid of both. He's never changed who he is. Not one iota. And that's what makes him awesome.
I don't know if John had survived and created stuff in the 80s and 90s, if he had kind of branched out like McCartney in terms of getting those hot producers just to push him further, I mean, I guess he had Yoko as the new collaborator, and that pushed him into a new realm of thinking. But I think George kind of stayed. He liked what he liked and didn't care from a commercial standpoint. But like Paul,
he wanted the commercial. Yeah, he knew he could. He wanted the commercial stuff, but he didn't want to be labeled as that. So I'm going to push the envelope and do other wild stuff to get out of my comfort zone.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's an incredible musician, and it's like, I'm thankful he's still around. I might not agree with some of the songs he writes sometimes, or who he uses as a producer, but if it's from the right place and it's genuine and organic in his mind, it's valid. So, but he's got so much
100%.
stuff. I could not like 10 songs by him, but he's got a whole 375 other songs that are great.
Yeah.
There's always something you could like on any album he creates, and and it doesn't feel forced. But
No. So if you have not taken a deep dive with Electric Arguments, this is a ringing endorsement from your two hosts today to go check this out and pick it up. I'm not sure if it's available streaming. It might be. I'm not up on all that because we're physical media people. It's on YouTube. You can probably get a decent copy of the CD used somewhere.
Yeah.
Or, I don't even know if can you get it new anymore on Amazon. You probably could. I don't know.
Maybe.
But check it out. I mean, it's worth a listen to hear a different side of Paul, but with some of this music, but then hear really, really great songwriting. And it's, again, those songs, Dance Till We're High, Sun is Shining, Sing the Changes, Home Run, like all time, like top, the last 20 years, they're up there in terms of songs for songwriting for him. Segueing, you mentioned Trevor Horn a few minutes ago. And we're two big prog rocky guys, and a month from now, will be in our hands will be the super deluxe edition of this bad boy. Ha ha! The Yes album. David's holding up. This is the 2014 Steven Wilson remix that I have here, and David has as well. And we are getting a 4 LP, 1 CD box, and it's going for a really good price on Amazon right now as $79 as of late. David, who is up on all the 5.1 Blu-ray stuff, can you please give us the differences in the Steven Wilson one from 2014 and what we're getting now?
So what
with
we're
this
getting
fantastic Yes album.
Oh yeah, to me personally, it's my favorite album. I grew up with it. Probably I came to it when I was about 15. I just played the shit out of my dad's record of it, and I could probably play the album by ear, but they're so technical it wouldn't be easy. But it's just like I know where they're going, and it's just I love it. So the 2023 box set includes the 4 CDs and Blu-ray. You're getting the 2014 remix that's on the 2014 release on CD again, but you're getting the instrumentals on CD this time, where it was exclusive on Blu-ray in 2014.
Right.
You're getting now in the current box set, you're getting some of the 2023 remasters of some of the rarities, like the single version of Your Move and
Starship Trooper.
The studio version of Clap. That's a 2023 remaster. Yours Is No Disgrace mono version. So you're getting a CD of rarities that may have been exclusive to the Blu-ray of the past sets, but on CD. What's really new is he's doing the 2023 Atmos mix on Blu-ray for this set. So that is kind of like the new feature. And then plus you're getting a live CD in Sweden and the New Haven, Connecticut.
The New Haven show, yeah.
In January 71 for Sweden and July of 71 in Connecticut. So...
a unique album because it was the only album that featured, it was the only album made by these 5 guys because Tony Kaye was still in the band. It was the first album with Steve Howe, who, came to the band with a huge force with his so John and Chris, Bill Bruford, of course, Tony Kaye, and Steve.
This is their third album because the first one was Time and a Word and
Yes, and then Time and a Word.
And then the Yes album.
Right, but most people in America think this is the first Yes album. most commoners think that this is really the first one
of the Steve Howe era, I suppose. Yeah, that's right.
And it is. It's the beginning of a wonderful trio of albums with the Yes album, Fragile, and Close to the Edge. I tell you what, I like it a lot. I mean, Fragile's great. Heart of the Sunrise, Roundabout, but this is way better than Fragile, in my opinion, and it pushes Close to the Edge, in a lot of ways too. I don't know if it overtakes it, but
I love Bill Bruford. I mean, he's probably one of my favorite drummers. His work on Yes and King Crimson is just like, it's sad that he retired just from the music industry. So
yeah,
it would be amazing to see him make a guest appearance on some Yes shows these days. But That's
No,
another
he's
topic.
happily retired and stuff, and
Yeah.
he gave us 5 albums. Yes, Time in the Word, the Yes album, Fragile and Close to the Edge, and for a lot of Yes purists, that's all they need. They're not into the later stuff, Tales, Relayer, or Going for the One, or Tomato. Like those first 5 Yes albums is a lot. What a lot of people like is Bruford was such a different drummer than Alan. He was jazzier.
Squire, man. Oh God, that's. I love Chris Squire. I mean, it's just. I was devastated when he passed. I mean, he was my dad and I's probably favorite bass player, and so thankful I've seen him a few times, back in the day. And God,
I mean, go listen to 5% for Nothing on Fragile. It's 40 seconds long. I mean, listen to that bass and drum combination there. And then we're going to Long Distance Run Around in the Fish. I mean, incredible world-class musicianship. These are guys that were at the top of their game. And I know you and I are both looking forward to this. If you like, maybe when it comes out, I'll have you for a review on my own channel, and we can discuss the box set. Maybe do a little, if you want to do an unboxing together, we can.
Maybe, yeah.
If you're down for it,
yeah.
Or a review, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
you get a lot on this set. Some of it's carryover from the last time, but that was exclusive to the Blu-ray then. But
and I like that. Listen, you're a much more Blu-ray guy than me. I like having the Blu-ray material on CD. It's an effort for me to put a Blu-ray in. I got to go in there, put it into a DVD player, turn everything on, and do it. I like having the DVD, the Blu-ray content available on CD. If you've got to make it another disc or two, make it another disc or two. Give us that audio.
Yeah, and that's the selling point on this is you get some of that stuff on CD now, and for the price point, it's just amazing for what you get.
For what you get, and you're getting another vinyl edition of the album. Now, I don't know if you have the Steven Wilson vinyl. I have the Steven Wilson box set of all the Yes albums. I don't know if you've dived into that at all.
On vinyl, no, I don't have that. I just have the special editions he did. I think the first 5 albums on Blu-ray and CD from 10 years ago, almost.
Right,
but,
almost now, but. Happy times for music fans if you're into this stuff like we are too, and Beatles and it's again, as we said at the top, it's old news now, but it's out there.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So to go to your point on the Blu-ray, King Crimson just released their Larks anniversary album, and they had done box sets 10 years ago on the live stuff, and God, talk about a vault of a band that kept everything. But this current thing is a 4 CD. Or 2 CD, 2 Blu-ray. Well, Blu-ray 2 has 9 hours of session outtakes on one. I mean,
that's how you do it, Paul.
That's how you do it. That's how you.
That's how you do it, Paul. Give us 9 takes of With a Little Luck from start to finish.
The set was $50 because if I think you turn that into a CD set, probably you're inching around 150 to 200. But they can release 25 discs for $150, and that's a band that's big but kind of underground in terms of the
very underground.
The content for the money. I wish the Beatles I think treat the product kind of as a like another release in their discography very carefully, and they're not ready to release everything in the vaults because there is such a huge fan base. So
right,
it's a business. And
whereas Crimson will say, hey, here's all our stuff, have at it.
Yeah, because it's really, I think, what Fripp is still ownership of that. He kind of is so close with his manager, Singleton. Paul's not close with, Paul's part of a committee. They're like a GM of stockholders, This is
which I think is BS because him and Ringo and the 2 estates should be going there and say they should go into the board and say, look, I don't care if you're the governing board of stuff. We're the Beatles and we're the estates. This is happening. This is not happening, and they can't do that.
It's just me trying to rationalize what they currently do, and it's like it's bumming that after starting with Abbey Road they condensed and mirrored everything based on the vinyl capacity. So the Pepper and White Album 50th Super Deluxe were the best, I think, because they slammed so much into the CDs.
You got so much bang for your buck with those.
Now they're kind of mirrored now based on the vinyl capacity, and
and you're getting less content on the discs, right? Yeah. And you're getting a bonus EP on a disc of 4 songs, and you're like, what?
16 minutes and 38 minutes when a CD could fit 81 minutes
is not good. Going back to Crimson, do you want to know, as a Crimson fan, and I'm a mild Crimson fan. I like the early Crimson albums, the first 2 or 3. I haven't dived anything past, really, obviously the first one, Lizard, Lizard, Poseidon, and the Court of the Kings. Yeah. Starless and Bible Black, Lark's Tongue. I haven't really gone past any of that. What's the connection between King Crimson? I'm going to put you on the spot here. Pop quiz. What's the connection between King Crimson and the Beatles, and one of their songs? I'm going to put you on the spot here. You definitely know this.
Ooh, I might need a connection between the Beatles and King Crimson. Huh?
Don't think later. Think 1990s.
The Adrian Belew years.
Yes, think 1990s.
Well.
Think around anthology time. I'm going to give you a little hint.
Oh yeah. Freeze, so they did perform Freeze a Bird during
the next night.
The next night, I think in New York, and they did it
in New York.
Later. It was in November when they were playing that. You're saying
correct.
Night, yeah.
So Freeze a Bird comes out on November 20th or 21st, 1995.
They were playing
the next night, something like that.
It was probably the off night where Anthology wasn't playing. It might have been that. Because it was Anthology on Sunday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Sunday, yeah, Sunday. Sunday night was episode 1. I'll never forget the countdown. Right, yep. Sunday night,
and it was Wednesday, episode 2, and
then with Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving, yeah,
right, Thanksgiving, right.
I told my mom, we're leaving my aunts. We're going.
Yeah, gotta go.
So I had to
gotta go. Sorry, the anthology's on. Yes, but
I'm 11 years old. Yeah.
Yeah, no, but King Crimson did a version of "Free as a Bird."
It's probably one of my favorite versions.
That is incredible.
His voice is just,
yeah. So there ties your. Yeah, and I remember seeing that on YouTube, and I'm like, look at this. The next day, or 2 days later, after the song comes out, King Crimson's doing it, "Free as a Bird." So that kind of brings it all back full circle to where we were at the top of the show. With Now and Then, which is now announced by the time this is out.
I won't go much in that song that maybe has been announced, but remember, were there Musicland or Sam Goody's in your area back in the
There
90s?
was.
So they had a magazine called Request that was free on one of the stands. So I think this is February 96. They had a big article, pretty much the whole 15, 20 pages on Jeff Lynne and the 3 guys working on the songs, and they mentioned Now and Then, and so I was looking forward to that kicking off Anthology 3, and I was like, what is this orchestra stuff kicking off the Anthology 3? Because it was supposed to be on the 3rd CD kicking it off,
Yep.
And I was like, wait, where did that title go? And that's
where's Now and Then? What's this a beginning? I don't want a beginning. Where's Now and Then?
I was like, what? Yeah, I still kind of get annoyed when I hear that. I'm like, there's space here that should be filled.
Well, in about 10 days time, we can change all that, and you can reorder the playlist any way you want.
Yeah.
Put Now and Then on Anthology 3 and have at it.
Yes, exactly.
You can do that. So, well, this was a great chat, David.
Absolutely.
Talking, obviously, Paul, but the recent stuff, again, that's going on, and Electric Arguments, which we are so glad that we were able to finally do a dive in. Maybe we'll do a part 2 with Tom at some point.
Yeah.
And bring you back in.
I've never done the Fireman even on the show when I was around. So
this was a good way to kind of get all that done too.
Yeah.
And win one kind of little bit of an episode here. And again, those upcoming dates, don't forget about it. Okay, November 17th, Ken Womack and Gary Evans with a presentation and the launch of Ken's book, Living the Beatles Legend, on Mal Evans, out in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. David will be there.
Yep.
Go say hello to him if he's there. Also I don't think I mentioned this at the top, July 2024, and I did not mention this, in Liverpool, England, at my alma mater, Liverpool Hope University. It's the 2nd annual International Beatles Symposium, celebrating a Hard Day's Night at 60 on July 5th through the 7th at Liverpool Hope University. The music team members at Liverpool Hope University are delighted to announce an interdisciplinary International Beatles Symposium that will be held on July 5th through the 7th, 2024, at the School of Creative and Performing Arts, located in the heart of Liverpool's vibrant city centre. This academic symposium honors the 60th anniversary of the release of the Beatles' album and film, A Hard Day's Night. As the dynamic opening chord of the title track signaled a sea change in popular culture, this moment in music history is worth further in-depth exploration. The symposium will feature keynote addresses from leading Beatles scholars, Professor Walter Everett, University of Michigan. There you go, David.
Yeah.
Professor Katie Karperch, Texas State University, and Professor and our friend Kenneth Womack from Monmouth University. Along with these presentations, there'll be a screening of A Hard Day's Night as well as sessions featuring other guests. You're cordially invited to submit abstracts for individual 20-minute presentations or panel presentations focusing scholarly explorations of the musical, cultural, historical, political, and social context of the Beatles and solo Beatles works. We welcome in particular the proposals regarding the following: the creation and influences and legacy of A Hard Day's Night, the influence and music and the photography of Mike McCartney in honor of his 80th birthday, the impact of Patti Boyd on 1960s counterculture in honor of her 80th birthday, and something much more central to, I think, what we're into, which I'm going to dial in on, the creation and legacy of one of these topics, legacy of George Harrison's Dark Horse, Ringo Starr's Goodnight Vienna, or John Lennon's Walls and Bridges, in celebration of the 50th anniversary of those albums, or of Paul McCartney's Run Devil Run, in celebration of its 25th anniversary of that album's release. So, and abstract submissions are due on January 5th at 11:59 p.m.
Oh, you better get to it.
I'm going to. As my alma mater, I think I have to. But this is something that I have not been back to Liverpool since graduation, which was a long time ago now, and I am definitely planning on attending. What say you? Are you going to are you interested in going?
I probably couldn't make it out there because I'm probably going to be saving for another European trip for the following year. But if there's a virtual sessions, I'll tune in.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Thank you. I mean, your cousin wants to go.
Well, yeah, he tried to go this year for his 50th and whatever. But yeah, that's definitely going to get him out there. You guys will probably hit the town, go to, visit the sites and, sights and sounds of Liverpool and London,
Yeah. I mean, it's only 2 days, or 3 days, 5th, 6th, and 7th, so it's not a long conference. But I think definitely I will be there, and hope again, assuming my abstract submission is chosen. But I think,
being in the academic world, why is there such like a 6-month lead time on submitting papers to when you're presenting? To go through like a review process, or
there's a review process. They're going to get probably hundreds, if not thousands, of proposals. Okay. And they're going to have to tailor them and pick, the best so
you're not guaranteed to present. Okay.
No, you're not.
It's a submittal, and they fund.
It's a call. It's a call for papers and some scholarly essays or presentation on any of those topics. Okay. And I definitely think I'm going to lean towards one of the solo things, maybe the Lennon, maybe Run Double Run. I'm not sure, but something to think about. And I've got a few months to get a proposal together, but I'm going to submit one, and fingers crossed. Yeah. So I'll keep you all posted. So great. I meant to talk about that at the top, but yeah, that was another important upcoming thing. So busy time in the Beatles world. And again, as of this is aired, the world is now known, so it'll be old news, but we're happy that you've tuned in. So for David, for my partner Tom, who's so busy with his own life moving, Tom, I miss you, and I hope that you are safe and packing, and you get to where you got to go. And as the song says, if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there.
Well, he's got the suitcase to take him. He's got the,
He does. He does. And, so for David and Tom, this has been episode 226, and I hope you enjoyed it all, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in.
Have a great day and a beautiful night.
As the man says. See you, everybody. Thanks.
Listening to Two Legs, a Paul McCartney podcast, hosted by Tom Hunyadi and Andy Nichols, with musical contributions by Dylan